Hello you beautiful nuggets. So today, in honour of Veganuary, I want to share with you my personal vegan journey. And I have not written any notes for this video because I honestly have no idea what I'm going to say. I'm just going to go with the flow, so sorry if it doesn't make any sense. But I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I have come a long way, but I still have a long way to go. I'm still learning, I'm still changing, and I'm definitely not the perfect vegan. Like, at all, nowhere near. So please bear that in mind as you listen to my journey, but hopefully it perhaps inspires you or flicks a switch in your head that makes you think, oh, maybe I want to start my journey too. So yeah, let's chat. Where did I begin? So if you look back on me maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I was what could be called a serial meat eater. I was obsessed with eating chicken, beef mince, and sausages and salmon. That was like my main food sources. Bloody loved a sausage, loved a salmon fillet, loved a chicken boob, and loved, what was my last one? Oh yeah, beef mince with a beef oxo cube crumbled into it. That was like my staple protein sources. I ate omelettes, I ate eggs, I ate copious amounts of Greek yogurt. I was big into the animal products, and I was also big into protein, and I felt like every single meal had to have lots of protein in it, so I used to fall back on animal products to be able to supply me with that protein. I also used to be a bit of a closed-minded, not very nice person to people who were vegetarian or vegan. Obviously I'd never say to them anything nasty about the way that they ate, but I always thought in my head like, God, I'll never be vegetarian, or I'll never be vegan, or they're a little bit crazy for doing that. That's a bit extreme. I used to steer well clear of vegetarian or vegan restaurants because I thought there'd be nothing that I could eat. I was just very close-minded about the whole thing. So it's quite remarkable how different my mindset is now, but things can change over the course of a few years, hey? So how did my mindset start to shift? I feel like there's a few key points in here. So 5-6 years ago, I watched the vegan documentaries. I watched Cowspiracy, I watched like Food Inc. and Food Matters and all these different things which touched on eating a more plant-based diet. And I genuinely was just so close-minded that I just didn't listen to them, and I didn't want to hear what they had to say, and I didn't implement any changes to my life. Fast forward about 3 years later, I started meditating, I started growing up and being more open-minded and being more interested in different ways of living my life. I was questioning how I lived and the choices which I was making, and I was open to suggestion on other ways of thinking. So then when I watched these documentaries, in particular Cowspiracy, like 2.5 years ago, I was very open to change. So when I watched Cowspiracy, I was like, oh damn, wow, my choices are having an impact on the planet, and I can choose to change my diet and have a positive effect. So I remember watching Cowspiracy and thinking to myself, right, I'm going to start making some positive changes. I didn't think I'm going to go vegan. I even made this YouTube video, which you can go back and watch, I think it's still on my channel, and I say that I'm going to reduce my red meat intake. And I think I say in that video, don't worry, I'm not going to go vegetarian or vegan. Little did I know where I'd end up now, hey? But I remember I just started by reducing my red meat intake, and I said I'm not going to eat beef anymore because it has the worst impact on the planet, and I'll just try and focus on white meat and fish, etc, etc. So that was where it started, and that was like 2.5 years ago. And I think once you open your mind to making changes to how you eat, you're much more receptive to more information to make more changes, if that makes sense. So as soon as I made that change, I started learning a little bit more about veganism, vegetarianism, where meat and dairy and eggs, etc. came from. And I started watching some more documentaries. I can't remember exactly which ones I watched, but I will leave a link down below to my resources page on my website, which is where all of this stuff is linked. Actually, you know what? I remember watching this YouTube video which was called 101 Reasons to Go Vegan, and another one which was called The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear, and they're by this guy who talks about more of the ethical side of why we should be eating a plant-based diet. And I never thought I'd be somebody who cared about the ethics of eating meat, but those videos completely transformed my mindset. And after that, I started to kind of obsessively read articles about slaughterhouses and how things were done in the UK. I was trying to justify to myself that in the UK things are more ethical than in the US or in other countries. So I started looking into how meat is produced in the UK. It turns out that I was reading articles about horrific things happening in slaughterhouses and abattoirs in the UK, and it kind of made me think, oh, the UK isn't exempt to all of these issues. With factory farming, we do have factory farms here. And I remember I was with Ant at the time, and I said to him, babe, we should start looking for more ethical meat. We should start looking for meat which comes from like independent farmers, where it's killed maybe on site and it's got a longer lifespan, etc, etc, and it's killed humanely. So this was my mission. I remember a couple of months after I gave up red meat, I was like, right, I'm gonna start looking for more ethical meat. So me and Ant were looking at farms. Ant was sending me WhatsApps with different farms and saying, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? And honestly, I couldn't find a farm which fitted with my ethics. And I remember I found this one farm which did slow raised chickens, right? And it was like the most highly reviewed, the most ethical, the most sustainable, the most etc, etc, etc chicken farm. And I was like, right, I'm gonna order a chicken from them. So I ordered a chicken. But then as I had ordered this chicken, I started reading more and more on their website. And it said that the chickens lived, I can't remember how long it was for, maybe 90 days or 60 days or 70 days, something like that. And I just thought to myself, damn, my parents' chickens lived for 9 years. If this is a slow raised chicken that's living for 90 days, what the hell is a normal chicken? And why isn't a slow raised chicken living for 9 years? Like, this isn't slow raised. And it just clicked. And I never ate that chicken. From that moment on, I pretty much became vegetarian. Well, more like pescatarian. I was pretty much pescatarian, and I would occasionally eat some salmon. But then I started reading more about fish and the sensory abilities of fish, and the fact that fish do feel pain and they have horrible deaths in the way that they're fished, etc, etc. I remember eating my last piece of fish. I was in Norway with my boyfriend, and we went out for a tasting menu, and there was fish on the menu. And as I ate my fish, I thought to myself, I'm not going to eat this again. And I really thoroughly enjoyed that meal, and I had my fish and I tasted it and I thought, thank you fish for giving me your life, but I'm not going to take any more fish's lives. And I remember after that day I haven't eaten fish. So it's all being kind of like moments, if that makes sense. So I had a moment when I realised I wanted to reduce beef and red meat. I had a moment when I realised ethical meat doesn't exist. Then I had a moment where I realised, oh, I can't eat fish either. So then I became vegetarian. My boyfriend was pretty relaxed about it. He was like, yeah, you do what you want to do, babe. I'll just eat what I want to eat. You eat what you want to eat. He would eat vegetarian when I was cooking for him, but he ate meat, etc. when he was on his own. So yeah, I was vegetarian for probably like 8 months, and it didn't occur to me to go vegan. Don't really know why, but I just thought vegetarian was enough. And it was for me at that point in my life. Oh my god, I forgot to mention this one book. Oh, I need to mention this as well. Another reason why I turned vegetarian was this one book which I read, which was called Eating Animals. It was by somebody called Jonathan Safran Foer. I remember the day that I closed the last page of that book, I said to myself I wasn't going to eat meat anymore. I think that was just after I had bought that chicken, that like slow raised chicken. I finished reading that book, and that was another reason why I never ate the chicken. It was because I finished that book and it had completely opened my eyes to the ethical side of why you might not want to eat animal products. And that book does talk more about vegetarianism than veganism. It doesn't really talk about dairy or eggs, so my mind hadn't been open to that yet. But I remember he spoke very passionately about why we shouldn't be eating meat, and that book honestly changed my life. That was definitely one of the main reasons why I stopped eating meat. And also my boyfriend read that book, and the day that he closed that book, which was maybe 6 months after me, he stopped eating meat as well. So that book is definitely a game changer. I can't recommend it enough. It really shifts your perception of whether we should or should not be eating animals. Anyway, so sorry I'm jumping forward and back, etc, etc. I'm trying to get all my thoughts to be coherent. So then I was vegetarian for maybe 8 months. It hadn't occurred to me to become vegan just yet because my mind just wasn't in that place yet. I hadn't really heard much about veganism. But as I said, once you start learning things, you start wanting to learn more. So I made this group called the Living Consciously Crew on Facebook. We have about 10,500 members now, and in there we talk openly and respectfully to each other about how to live a more ethical and sustainable lifestyle. And I was talking about being vegetarian in there, but quite a few of the members were talking about being vegan and why they were vegan, their reasons for going more plant-based, and the way that it supports the environment. And I was like, oh, veganism, that's the next step. But I thought it was a little bit extreme. I didn't really know if I'd be able to stick with it. I didn't really know if it was for me. So I never quite transitioned for 8 months. But I have to say that I was shifting more and more and more vegan as time went on. My days would be maybe one vegetarian, one vegan, one vegetarian, one vegan. I was like trying to pull myself away from animal products completely, but I didn't want to commit to eating 100% vegan. And then in September, I did a vegan challenge with my boyfriend. So we went away to California and I said to him, for the duration of this trip, let's try and eat 100% vegan. And it was so much easier than I ever thought it would be. I always assumed that eating plant-based would be really, really hard and I'd find it really tough and I would feel like I had a lack of energy or I'd feel like I was missing out. But for those 2 weeks, I felt fantastic. And I ate 100% vegan and I thought to myself, damn, maybe veganism is something which I can do. And from that moment on, I have pretty much been mostly vegan since last September. So now it's a year and 4 months or so on from that. And I'd say that since then, I've definitely fallen on and off the vegan bandwagon. I'm somebody who I have to keep reminding myself why I'm trying to eat a plant-based diet, why I'm trying to eat a vegan diet, why I'm trying to eat more consciously and for reasons which are beyond myself. I do have to consciously read articles, watch videos, etc, etc to keep my motivation up. So that's my journey when it comes to the diet side of veganism, and I am very much not there with the other elements of veganism yet. So in terms of like leather and lifestyle things, being 100% cruelty free, being 100% vegan with everything in my life, I am not there, and I'm very open to say that. I am trying. So when I buy new products, like new beauty products, I always ensure that they're vegan and cruelty free. Sometimes things slip through the net because, for example, I got sent a lip balm the other day and I was using it and then I realised it had freaking beeswax in it and then just didn't even realise. So definitely not there yet, but when I do buy things, I try and make sure that they are cruelty free, that they don't have vegan ingredients. For example, if a brand contacts me and says, can we send you something? I'm like, please only send me things that are cruelty free and vegan. So I always am trying my best with that one, and I feel like I'm making quite good progress, but as I said, not 100% there yet. When it comes to leather, I haven't bought something new that's leather for a very, very long time. Anything that's leather that I get is always second hand. I found this website called Vestiaire Collective where they do like designer items but second hand, and I have bought 1 or 2 items off there which are leather, but they're second hand. So in my head I feel like I'm not supporting the leather industry, but I know that some vegans don't like to wear leather of any form, which I totally understand. Again, not there yet myself, but maybe I will be soon. I don't know if there's other areas of veganism that I should be talking about, but those are the basics, and hopefully it's been insightful for you guys. As I said, I'm 100% honest with you guys. I'm definitely not perfect. I'm trying my best. There's definitely momentary lapses of judgment where I don't make the right choice, but I'm human and these things happen. I'm really trying my best with these areas, but I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still just trying to be the best version of me and trying to make the best choices that I can. And changes this big take time. I feel like I'm changing so many elements of my life right now, like doing all the whole reducing plastic thing, trying to reduce my fashion purchases, like trying to be more sustainable in so many areas that I feel like you have to be forgiven for making certain mistakes, or you have to be forgiven for not being perfect, because as soon as you start learning about trying to be more sustainable or trying to be more ethical, you soon realise there's like 1,000 ways that you need to change and 1,000 ways that you need to be better, and you can't do them all at once, and you just have to not judge yourself so harshly. That's what I'm telling myself, like, don't be so harsh on yourself, Zanna. You're doing your best. So yes, I'm doing my best. And hopefully you guys have found hearing my vegan journey interesting and insightful. I hope that you appreciate my honesty when it comes to it, and maybe you relate to part of it. I just think that I have come so far. When you look back at who I was 3 years ago, you could not believe that I would have had the mindset that I have now, because I was somebody who was like, meat, 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 vegetarians are weird, and now I'm like 99.999% vegan. So times change. Don't be scared of change. Please try Veganuary. You never know, it might change your life, like eating a plant-based diet has changed mine. I feel amazing eating with a purpose which is beyond myself. In the past, I used to only eat for my own health, for my own physique, for my own aesthetic goals or health goals or how I feel goals. But now I eat for the animals, I eat for the planet, I eat for so many reasons that aren't just me, and it feels amazing and it feels very empowering. So I encourage you to perhaps join me in trying to eat a little bit more plant-based. Any positive step has a positive impact, so maybe just start with reducing like I did, and you never know where you'll end up. Alright, sorry for rambling. If you like this video, please give it a cheeky thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you super soon, guys. Bye!